Status is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, barrier to existential understanding. I'll say it again. Status is one of the biggest barriers, if not the biggest barrier to existential understanding. In my context, as I've grown up, particularly in Georgia, in the United States, I can say that in the West, status is a key component of who you are, in a way, exteriorly. Whether people want to admit that consciously, that is a different story, because oftentimes many people unconsciously will hold to this idea that they need to become the best versions of themselves. But unfortunately, they don't have the real idea of what it means to become the best version of yourself. Even though they may not admit it, some people may not necessarily say, they'll say, well, the interior really matters. That's the key thing. They may actually interiorly think, that just based on their actions actually, their actions may show otherwise, that status really matters to them. And I don't blame anyone for that. I mean, personally, I can say that it bothers me when someone is of a higher status than me, and that person may have more than I do. And that's just me being authentic, in a sense. And I know that at the end of the day, status is just an exterior thing. At the end of the day, people won't remember you for your status. They will remember you for how you treated others, how you cared for them, what actions you took, the little actions, the little things. They matter the most. However, in the West, we are often brought up to kind of work and develop ourselves, learn new skills, and a lot of people's identity can be defined based on their car, or how many friends they have, and the special watch they may have, whatever. But what I've learned, and I think that this is very important, it all starts interiorly. And I watched this video. It was the Shaolin monk, and he was mentioning that one of the key things that makes us suffer is not desiring to be nothing, or not being open to being nothing, which in the West, that is a scary thing. Like, who wants to give up their sense of identity, the way they define themselves, their trade, and how much they've achieved, all of the stuff that they've done, their body, their physique, etc. It defines them. It's like they created this cool avatar. And I feel like people, if they detached from their sense of identity, if they were okay with being nothing, that would free a lot of people, just in my perspective. Because when you attach yourself to an identity, it becomes really difficult if you lose something. So the Eastern schools, such as, I could say, Advaita Vedanta, brings in some of these non-dual ideas. And I think that it really starts here, because we can broaden our idea of what it means to be a living individual. So you kind of zoom out. You see the bigger picture. And I like this idea. And this is just something that resonates with me. But how there's this teaching that everything is connected, and there really is no self. That's an idea that we created. The biggest thing, again, that resonates is how each and every single individual can recognize this connection between each and every single one of us. And it's not just people, but nature in itself. If people just recognize that connection, that we're not separate from nature, nature is not separate from us. But in the West, it seems like we don't necessarily acknowledge, or I mean, we'll acknowledge nature, but it's not like we kind of recognize it as something that's secondary in a sense, because we always think about how we can relate with other people. But like I said, it's a lot of times has to do with status. How can I impress someone else? And it brings this sense of it takes away authenticity, because it always has to do with becoming a better version exteriorly rather than interiorly. But if we start with this idea that everything is connected, that is a compassionate approach. We realize that whenever we do something to someone else, it affects us just as when we do something to ourselves, it affects the other people around us. I think that one of the biggest misconceptions is that we are separate, and that's just my viewpoint. Because no matter what, I mean, each and every single day, whenever I choose to do something that may be a action that is fruitful, it's, some people may want to imitate that, right? So it affects them in a way because it's an example. On the other hand, if I choose an action that is not very fruitful and it shows ignorance, it shows anger, it shows all of these unhelpful or unskillful things, then that individual is going to imitate that. So actions, I mean, that is definitely the phrase actions speak louder than words resonates very much. But that's just something that I wanted to say. I think that there are a lot of teachings that we can learn from the East, kind of being able to detach from our sense of self and not having it in a sense where, of course, we care for our bodies, we care for how we take care of ourselves and other people around us, but this idea that we have to uphold our status, holding on to these exterior things, trying to please others. For what, right? We need to take care of ourselves. We need to make a living. Don't get me wrong. But what I would challenge you to do is to rethink why you do what you do. Do you do it to impress other people? Is it really just for your own desire in the big picture? Is that what you're really trying to do? Or are you doing it for altruistic, compassionate reasons? And that's something that you can work over time, habit by habit, little by little. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Take care.